Alright, thank God it's fantasy football season. I'm Buster Brown, and the show is Redemption Rehab. If you tuned in today, it's for one reason. It's to start winning championships in fantasy football. Today, we're talking about my top picks on the weekly waiver wire that'll help you get the job done. So let's head over to the weekly waiver wire report
and check out the facts.
Alright, yeah! Here we are in week 13 of the NFL season. Hopefully, you've done well. Today, we're talking waiver wire report. We're going to give you some great players to help you make a run for a championship. So, I've got some guys that are going to help you get the job done in week 13 of the NFL season. So let's head over to the chalkboard
and check out the facts.
We're starting out today with an impressive running back that was taken in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks, and his name is Rashad Penny, who had 14 rushes for 129 yards and a TD with no receptions. Rashad Penny can catch the ball out of the backfield. He may be that guy that helps you win a championship. If you notice Rashad Penny on your waiver wire, go out and get him. He's not only going to help you win in week 13, he could help you win the rest of the year, especially if you have Chris Carson as your starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks. Let me give you some other running backs to keep in mind for week 13, like the Detroit Lions' Bo Scarborough. He had 18 rushes for 98 yards with no receptions. Detroit's got to run the ball. That's their gig. They like to run the ball, throw the ball, complement the run. Bo Scarborough out of Alabama is a head knocker. He's a big boy, and when he runs through that hole, he's hard to tackle. So on Thanksgiving, he's going to get a bunch of carries and probably a touchdown against a Chicago defense that likes to give up touchdowns to running backs. Let me give you some other running backs to keep an eye on this week, like the Pittsburgh Steelers' Snell Jr., who had 21 rushes for 98 yards with one reception for 5 yards on one target. Pittsburgh's got a ton of running backs. James Conner doesn't look like he's coming back this week. Jamal Samuels doesn't seem like he's a every down back. You know what? Snell is. And if you got any of those guys that I just mentioned, you should pick up Snell Jr. because he's probably on your waiver wire, and it wouldn't surprise me if Pittsburgh used him more and more often. We've talked about him all year. Let me give you another running back that's going to help you this week, like the Indianapolis Colts' Jonathan Williams, who had 26 rushes for 104 yards and one TD with 3 receptions for 17 yards on 3 targets. We told you about Jonathan Williams last week. Marlon Mack goes down, Jonathan Williams steps in. Let me give you another running back on the same team. His name is Neha Hines, who had 9 rushes for 51 yards and 2 receptions for 10 yards on 3 targets. Without Marlon Mack in the picture, who had hand surgery, probably isn't playing again in the regular season. He's got to get healthy. It's the way it is. So you got these 2 running backs that got to play the last 2 weeks. But what makes it more confusing, and I told you this last week, is there's another running back who got hurt earlier. His name is Jordan Wilkins. He's actually the main guy if Marlon Mack goes down. So if you can get any of these running backs, I suggest you pick them up and stash them on your bench. You might need them this week or for your playoff run to win a championship. Let's take a look at some wide receivers that can help you this week. Okay, here we are taking a look at some wide receivers that can help you for week 13 or maybe for your playoff run in a championship, like The Chicago Bears' Anthony Miller, who had 6 receptions for 77 yards on 9 targets. We've mentioned him for weeks now, and we mentioned him before the draft. Well, he's finally healthy, and he's going to produce. If they can get themselves a quarterback, they can get him the ball. Let me give you another wide receiver that can help you this week, like the Atlanta Falcons' Russell Gage, who had 8 receptions for 76 yards on 10 targets. He took over the slot position from Mohamed Sanu, who got shipped off to New England. So I can tell you right now, keep an eye on Russell Gage. He had 10 targets last week. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets more down the stretch. Let me give you another wide receivers that we've mentioned this year, like the San Francisco 49ers' Dee Samuels. He had only 2 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown on 2 targets. He's on a tear, and we've mentioned him for weeks, and we mentioned him before the draft. If you get a chance, go back and look at some of our draft strategies. You can see them on our website behind me, fantasyfootballredemptionrehab.com. All you got to do is put in your email and a password, and you can check it out, and it's all free. These guys could have helped you all year. Let me give you a couple other wide receivers you may want to keep an eye on the rest of the year, like the New England Patriots' Jacoby Myers, who caught 4 passes for 74 yards on 9 targets, or teammate rookie N'Keal Harry, who caught his first touchdown of those rookie season. They got to play because of injuries to Mohamed Sanu and Philip Dorsett. Hey, if Mohamed Sanu and Philip Dorsett aren't going to play, they got to put somebody in there. They don't exactly have a tight end to throw the ball to, and they can't just throw the ball to running backs. So these guys, if those 2 aren't going to play, these 2 might be worth picking up and stashing on your bench for your playoff run. Let me give you some tight ends that can help you in week 13 or for the rest of the season. Okay, here we are taking a look at some tight ends that can help you in week 13, starting with the New York Giants' Kaden Smith, who had 5 receptions for 17 yards with a TD on 6 targets, with the injuries to Evan Ingram and Rhett Ellison. If the injury situation for the tight ends and the New York Giants doesn't get better, this is the best that they have. And if they don't get these other 2 guys back, he's going to get the start. They're going to have to throw the ball to him because the Giants like to throw the ball to the tight end. So keep him in mind. Let me give you another tight end to keep an eye on this week. And his name is the Denver Broncos' Noah Fant, a rookie who is showing promise. I mean, Denver is what it is. Not a very good team, but he does seem to get a bunch of targets every game. He is athletic, coming out of Iowa, so keep an eye on him. And you might want to keep an eye on the Miami Dolphins' Mike Gesicki, who caught a TD last week. These are a couple sleeper tight ends we've mentioned all year, and they might be able to help you in a pinch. I wouldn't count on them week in and week out, but they may be able to help you win a game in week 13 or maybe even in the playoffs. So they might be worth stashing on your bench. And let me give you one more tight end I highly suggest you pick up, and that's the Indianapolis Colts' Jack Doyle, who could see even more playing time with the injury to teammate Eric Ebron. Ebron went on IR this week. They like to throw to the tight end, and Jack Doyle's the only guy they have left. So I would consider picking him up and maybe even starting him in week 13. Let me give you some quarterbacks to keep an eye on for week 13 in your playoff run. Starting with the New York Jets' Sam Darnold, who last week was 20 of 29 for 315 yards and 2 TDs. Not only does he have a great matchup in week 13, he's got a great schedule the rest of the year. I don't know who your quarterback is on your team, but he'd be worth stashing on your bench in case you have a bad matchup during the playoffs. Let me give you another quarterback that has a great schedule the rest of the way, and that's the Carolina Panthers' Kyle Allen. He was 23 of 36 for 256 yards and 3 TDs. Both these guys have favorable schedules this week and the rest of the year. I would definitely consider stacking them on your bench for your playoff or championship run. Let me give you 2 more quarterbacks you should consider this week. Let me give you 2 more quarterbacks that might help you this week or down the road. And that's the New York Giants' Daniel Jones, who was 21 for 36 and 150 yards with 2 TDs. He's another rookie quarterback that has a favorable schedule. You might want to consider making him your backup quarterback, or maybe even throwing him on your bench so someone else doesn't pick him up. And I'll give you 1 more quarterback who had a great game last week. He's a player, man, every year, inside and out. And his name is the Miami Dolphins' Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was 21 of 39 for 214 yards, 2 TDs, with 5 rushes for 45 yards and another TD. Kid just plays football. He's a baller. So if you want to pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick, as long as he stays healthy, maybe if he's playing in some good weather down in Miami and has a great matchup, I consider putting him in maybe during the playoffs. It's a risk, but maybe your quarterback has a bad matchup. Let me give you some defenses that'll help you for week 13 or during the playoffs. Starting with the New York Jets, or how about the Philadelphia Eagles? Both have great matchups this week and in the playoffs. You can't have enough good defenses. Any good defense could get you 20 points or more if they've got a great matchup, and both of these teams do this week. And they also have great matchups during the playoffs. Let me give you a couple more defenses if those aren't available, like the Los Angeles Rams, who've struggled lately but have great matchups during the playoffs, or even the Carolina Panthers, who also have a great matchup this week and during your playoff run. You can never have enough good defenses during the playoffs on your team. You want to get defenses that have great matchups and potential to score a lot of points to help you get that victory. So let's go over and check out some kickers that can help you this week and during your playoff run. Let's take a look at some of the kickers that were on bye last week, like the Kansas City Chiefs' Harrison Butker, who was the #1 scoring kicker in fantasy this year and was on bye last week. He just might be available on your waiver wire, so go over, check it out. Everybody's going to go after him. But let me give you another kicker that nobody's thinking about. He's also a top 10 kicker, and his name is the Arizona Cardinals' Zane Gonzalez, also on bye last week and might be on your waiver wire. Hey, the Cardinals can move the ball up and down the field, but sometimes they have trouble scoring. And Zane Gonzalez is a top 10 kicker this year in fantasy. I consider picking him up for your playoff run, or maybe you just need a good kicker this week. A couple other kickers I'd keep my eye on for week 13 or for your playoff run is the Los Angeles Chargers' Michael Badley, or how about the Minnesota Vikings' Dan Bailey. These guys are veteran kickers who can put the ball through the posts, and I would consider picking them up for your playoff run, or maybe you have enough roster spots where you can carry 2 kickers. All right, there you have it for week 13, the waiver wire report. For some of yins, it's on to the playoffs, and we will be there week in and week out to help you get a chance to win a championship in 2019. I'm Buster Brown, the show's Redemption Rehab. Good luck.